My son wanted a stereo for his room, and he wanted to base it off a car stereo. I'm like, cool, we can do that. But let's make it actually look like it belongs in the house. So I was thinking, how about like a 90s tabletop console type look, you know, with black grill cloth, kind of a lacquered finished look to it. Something that would look good and sound good, and maybe not look too homemade. So we went down to the shop, started working on it, and I was, taking pictures of the process just to show Mom, like what we were doing. And it wasn't until I got about halfway through the project and I'm like, oh man, we should start shooting video on this thing, because maybe we can inspire some other people out there who are thinking of doing the same thing, and show you guys just exactly what it looks like. So I'm using a Pioneer double-din head unit, some CT Sounds 5x7 speakers, and a little 30 amp switching power supply, like an LED switching power supply. So with that being said, I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, so I've got it mocked up. We've got the CT Sounds mounted, and we've got the deck mounted, and that's pretty good. We're gonna have to take it home and wrap the grills. I just forgot to bring the grill cloth, but this is how this is gonna look. Like that. We'll take that like that. I may have left and right wrong, but anyway, that's how it's gonna look. It's gonna have this little step out right here, which I like, which means that it's gonna give that deck kind of a pushed back look. But yeah, that's how it's going to look from the front. Mocked up here. I was originally going to use pegboard for that because they're car stereo speakers, and car stereo speakers are for the most part designed to be in an infinite baffle situation. So I cut out that cool little effect there to kind of give it kind of an open baffle effect. However, the driver being right here, it'll fire into this little space back here, and I'll get a little bit of bass response from that. But yeah, it'll breathe. No porting necessary. I don't want to mess around with tune ports or anything like that. Okay, so before I reveal what it looks like from the front, this is a rear view of the stereo console. There is the CT Sound 5x7s mounted on the front baffle from behind. We have the rear of the Pioneer deck. I have a homemade dipole type antenna strung up here. It's about 34 inches long. And we have subwoofer output down here, and then rear and fronts. We're not going to use the front and rears. However, we are going to use the subwoofer output, and I'll do that in another video, because we are going to add a subwoofer to this, but it's not going to be a car stereo subwoofer. It'll be more of a home stereo power pack on the back of the subwoofer, so that'll be pretty cool. And original plan for this was to use the 10 amp power supply. These are just 12 volt switching power supplies, where they convert 110 volts to 12 volts. But in waiting for that power supply to come on Amazon, I put one of my 30 amps in. I have a half a dozen of these things, so I put one of my 30 amps in with the fan cool, and we're going to stick with this. So I arrived at 10 amps originally because the deck has a 10 amp fuse in it. However, I think bigger is better, so that's what we're going to do. And we've got the electrical cord tied down and zukied down. Everything looks pretty good back here. We're going to have to take this panel back off because there are little additions here and there, like the subwoofer RCAs I'm going to need to get to. And then the cell phone microphone for the Bluetooth activation for the cell phone part of this. I've got to put that in. However, I'm not going to wire that and actually physically mount it in here. We're going to wire this in the room when this is in its final resting place. So let's put the back cover on. Alright, well here's what it looks like. Completed unit. So I'm going to put some little feet on the bottom. and they're those little black and gold rubberized feet that used to come on the bottom of like CD players. I have 4 of them. I'm just currently, well, I've misplaced them. I don't really know where they are, so we'll be putting those on. But other than that, that's pretty much it. So let's start with the finish of the enclosure. As you saw in the pictures, this was plywood, and I just used like a 5 or 7 ply plywood from Lowe's. And what we did here for the paint finish is this is hand painted. I brush painted Rust-Oleum gloss black on here, and then for the centerpiece we used Rust-Oleum hammered black. And I like the 2 different shades of black. We've got a nice gloss black here, a deep black, and then here the hammered not only has a slight texture to it, which is kind of hard to see on camera, but it's also shaded a little bit different. And we have our press to fit grills in there, and those are pretty nice. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. It sounds pretty good. We're gonna add a subwoofer to this later. I think this would look really cool, like if you wanted to do this for maybe like a small dorm room project, or a bedroom, or even in the garage. This would be really nice. But yeah, the deal was, when I built this, is I wanted to build this with just standard tools that I think everybody can acquire. No fancy routers or anything like that. This was just built on a table saw. Let's see, I used a table saw, a jigsaw, and a hand sander, and that was basically it. Brush paint and spray paint for the centerpiece here. So what I have down here on the controls is we have kind of like a kill switch here. So the power supply stays on at all times, but if we want to shut the stereo down and not lose memories, when I turn that switch off right there, it shuts down the deck, but it still has a constant 12-volt source going to it, so it does not lose memories. So that's really cool. So when you get all your settings and everything taken care of, you can just set it and forget it, basically. So anyway, I'll leave a link to the deck down below and all the parts that I used down below. And let's see, the next phase of this project, we're going to add a subwoofer to it, and that is going to go in another corner of the room. And so we're going to use subwoofer outputs off of the deck, and I'm going to use, I think tentatively we're going to use a Dayton power plate, and we're going to mount that in the back of a Memphis Audio slot loaded box with 2 12s in it. So anyway, yeah, this is kind of a fun little project. Like I say, no special tools or anything like that were used. And if you don't mind taking a little time by sanding and doing a little bit of prep work, you can knock this puppy out pretty good. And we're not into this too much. I think we're into the deck like $100, power supply about $30, and I would say paint and various materials probably somewhere around another $50. So yeah, all right. Please leave questions or comments down below and let us know how you like this, and stay tuned because we'll be adding to this project, and then we'll show you what it looks like on the final installation. All right, everybody, thanks for watching.